Hey everyone, and welcome to the fifth video in the XDC Report, where we'll be going through the latest news and updates in XDC's engineering. My name is Atharva Chandratre, and I'll be your host for this web series. So for the agenda of this video, we'll first talk about MasterNodes, which are the backbone of the XDC network. First, we'll discuss the need for MasterNodes and why they even exist in the first place. After that, we'll go a bit into depth about what they exactly are and the hardware requirements which are needed for a node to qualify to become a masternode. Finally, we'll also talk about how they are elected and create the next blocks in the XDC blockchain. So blockchains today are facing a major problem. In a bid to get power and control over a blockchain network, people are trying to find new ways to control as much of the resource pool as possible at the lowest cost and the most efficient way they can. So this creates a huge problem for the security and integrity of the network by making the blockchain centralized. For example, in this pie chart of Ethereum before the merge, we could see that 3 mining pools already control greater than 51% of the mining power in Ethereum. So a 51% attack becomes a very real possibility if the actors plan to band together, which would lead to catastrophic consequences for the network. The value of that particular crypto would go completely to zero, and the community as a whole would get severely affected. So it was believed that moving to a proof of stake version of the consensus mechanism would help Ethereum significantly reduce this problem. But that doesn't really seem to be a case at the moment, because this tweet here explains how 46.15% of the nodes are controlled by just two entities, or how the pie chart in the bottom left corner shows that greater than 51% of all of the staked ETH is already controlled by just three corporations, which is like Lido Finance, Coinbase, and Kraken. So those three combined already have the ability to have a 51% attack. In fact, there are some well-known blockchains that are centralized by nature. For example, EOS only has 21 nodes that are all run by the EOS Foundation. Or NEO has just 7, all run by the same company. Ripple, which has more than just 7 or 21 nodes, has a system of coin supply such that 60% of all of the Ripple supply in the world will always be owned by the Ripple Corporation. So all the decisions are unanimously taken by the parent company. To prevent such centralization and create a system where everyone gets a chance to vote, while also making sure that the vote actually carries value and isn't just a symbolic part of a process, XDC came up with the idea of masternodes. So what are masternodes? Unlike proof of work, which wastes resources and has low performance, XDC uses its consensus mechanism called XDPOS. In it, all the nodes decide which nodes have the right to create the next block and how the created block is approved. XDC nodes that contribute to creating and approving these blocks are referred to as masternodes. So they serve two major functions, block creation and block approval. This way, an XDC node can become a masternode through an extremely selective process, and the requirements to meet this are through a minimum hardware and staking requirement. So what are these minimum requirements in order to become a masternode? Well, first of all, there's a major staking requirement, which is that the node must be holding at least 10 million XDC. This is very important because it strongly aligns the incentives of the masternode and the network. So if a masternode begins behaving maliciously, then it causes the value of the XDC token to drop, which makes them lose money in the process. Having an arrangement like this acts like a strong deterrent from this kind of behavior. From the hardware perspective, they must have some dedicated and a very stable hardware environment, a dedicated static public IP address, and 100% network uptime by IDC network. So what that means is, IDC is called the International Data Corporation, which is a company that analyzes networks of individuals and companies and gives them tier values. So having a network accredited by IDC will basically ensure that the network will remain up and stable. These hardware requirements are just as important as staking because having a set of blockchain nodes that adhere to such strict standards will ensure that the network stays up, giving the best experience for both the users and the community. Also, there is an optional requirement for having a virtual private server. This image perfectly explains what happens after a node becomes a masternode. Once a node has met the criteria which we discussed previously, it's eligible for MasterNode elections. These node elections happen periodically. So these elections are a way to choose 108 nodes from the set of all masternodes, which will mine the next 900 blocks. And since the block time of XDC is around 2 seconds, it means that the elections will happen once every 30 minutes. The process for choosing them is completely randomized. And once these 108 masternodes are chosen, They create and approve the next 900 blocks, and the cycle keeps repeating. This is how masternodes work and how they are such an integral part of the XDC consensus mechanism. So that's it for this video, everyone. Thank you all for joining. Until then, this is Atharva Chandratre signing off, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.